Hi, this is Andy from GPS Training. In this next short video, I'm going to show you how you can look at the maps that are loaded on your GPS device within BaseCamp software and actually have a look at some of the map tools and just a look around the actual map page within Garmin's free BaseCamp planning software. I've already got the software open, I've just minimized at the minute on my Windows 10 machine. So in the bottom taskbar, I'm just going to left click on my Windows BaseCamp logo just to reopen up the software. So carrying on from the last training video, we've already got the GPS device connected. So with your GPS device connected, you can now view the maps within BaseCamp software. If your GPS device isn't connected to BaseCamp, you will not be able to view the maps in BaseCamp software. You'll just be looking at a basic map like the map of the world I've got at the moment. So I've got the GPS device connected. I can see under devices in the top left hand window my Oregon 700. Now if I've got maps on my internal storage, they appear under the internal storage folder, and also underneath the micro SD card symbol, it's the maps that I've got loaded on the SD card, micro SD card within my GPS device. In this case it's my Garmin GB Discoverer 50K all maps. So to get these maps on the screen, rather than just seeing this basic map that's on the screen at the moment of the world, if I zoom in on this map, I'm using a USB mouse plugged into my computer at the minute, so I'm zooming in using the scroll wheel on the USB mouse, but it's a pretty basic map, not a lot of information on it, just borders and countries. So what we need to do is, from the maps menu along the top, left click on the maps menu, and in there you'll get a choice of any maps that are loaded on your internal storage or the maps that are on your SD card. You don't see your bird's eye maps. Anyone who's downloaded bird's eye maps onto your GPS, you won't see them from this menu. We will be covering that in later training videos on bird's eye mapping. So this is just maps that have been physically downloaded to the internal storage of your GPS from Garmin's website, something like Topo Light Maps, or any of you bought a GPS that came with pre-installed maps like Topo Active Mapping, that's on the internal storage of your device. They would be listed here, and any maps that are on your micro SD card in your GPS. So in this case, I'm going to select from the maps menu, instead of the basic global map, I'm going to select my Garmin GB Discoverer 50K for my Ordnance Survey maps. Anyone who's bought a GPS with the Topo premium maps, or the premium 1 to 25, 1 to 50 maps, you'll see listed down here the various parts of the country that those maps are split into, North England, Scotland, etc., and you just select the one that you want to view on the map page. So I'm going to select for this one Garmin GB Discoverer 50K all, and what I'll be able to do now is zoom in and actually look at my Ordnance Survey maps. So at the minute it's still a basic outline of Great Britain because I'm zoomed out really far, so I can either use the scroll wheel that I've got on the USB mouse that I'm using, or if I move to the very top left hand corner of the map page, there's a little scroll bar here that if I left click on the plus and minus, it lets me zoom in and out. So if I left click on the plus, this map will just slowly zoom in. For the first time that you plug your GPS device in, the first time you're loading your maps, it can be a little bit slow to load the first time, and then what you'll find from after time, because the maps will actually cache within the memory of your computer, they'll load a little bit quicker. It also depends on the RAM that your computer's got, the size of memory, and the graphics card as well, to how quick the maps will load. So as I zoom in, it'll change from a road atlas level, and then if I just zoom in a little bit further, we should end up with an Ordnance Survey map on the screen. I'll just give that a few more clicks just to zoom in, and now we've got an Ordnance Survey 1 to 50 map on the screen. I'm moving around the map at the moment just by left clicking and holding the left click of the mouse down, and by default when you load up the software for the first time, there's a little hand symbol automatically selected. So if I look in the toolbars along the top here in BaseCamp, there's a little hand symbol called the pan tool. That's the one that's normally automatically selected within the software. You can move the map around also using, if I go to the very top left hand side of the screen again and just give it a chance to load again, what we have got in the very left hand top left of the screen is a little up and down arrow. Now that little up and down arrow lets you, it's like the little north compass bezel. If we left click on the up arrow, the down arrow there, and the right arrow and the left arrow, it lets us move the map around as well. So that's just the basic, having a quick look at the map page, moving the map around using the hand tool and left clicking with the mouse and just dragging the map around or going into the top left hand map of the map screen and using these arrows on the compass bezel. While we're on that compass bezel, if I was to spin that compass bezel round, it'll put the map so that it's not north up, and it'll point in whatever direction you've moved that compass bezel to. A quick tip to get the map back to north up: you can spin the compass bezel back round, but what you can do, you can use this view menu along the top. So if I move to view, I want to change the view on the map page, and at the very top, second one down, we've got align north up as one of the options. So view, align north up, and that'll put the map back up to north up. The other thing I'm going to show you in that view menu, at the moment we've got a 2D, just a 2D map. If you've loaded the BaseCamp 3D standard version of BaseCamp, not the 2D version only, and you've got a 3D graphics card within your computer, what you can do on the view, you can select view, map views, and you also get the option there to view the map in a 3D format, or you can select both, which puts a 2D and 3D alongside. So I'm just going to select the 3D mode there, and we'll get the map in a 3D style on the screen. It's sometimes quite nice when you're reviewing a track that you've walked and actually seeing the track over the map in a 3D format. To put that back to a normal 2D, which we normally use when we're planning a route, I can go back to view along the top, map views, and simply select 2D map. Okay. Also, what we've got in the top right here, there's a little overview map which normally shows you when you're near main roads, etc. Sometimes quite useful. I don't tend to use the overview map myself, so if you find that overview map is in the way, you can actually close it down with the cross in the corner. You can make this overview map bigger just by left clicking in the corners of the box and making it a bigger size, and that'll just give you an idea what we use the overview map for. But I'm just going to hit the little white cross in the red box in the top right of this overview map just to close that down, so I've got a nice clean full size map page. So that's just moving around on the map page. Something else that's very useful when you're on the map page, most of us want to use this map page to start a walk somewhere, start a route somewhere, and I know I can zoom out just by using the scroll wheel on my mouse, or we could use the little zoom bar in the top left and I could move the map to a location that I want to start a walk in. But a much quicker way to move the map to somewhere that you want is to use this search box in the top right hand window. So in the search box in the top right hand window, I can type in a place name, a town, a village. So if I type in Rothbury, which is the village that we're based in, and simply hit the little magnifying glass to the right of this search box along the top, if you're on the internet, it'll search for extra information. If you're not on the internet, you might get a warning come up to say you're not on the internet. You can just ignore that. But what's coming up now on the screen is under this points of interest, under the top results box, is in the very first option, points of interest, we've got Rothbury listed. It's now finding Rothbury Golf Club, Tully's of Rothbury, which is a shop in the village. So I can double click on any of these now in Rothbury. Where it's got the distance, that is the distance as the crow flies if we drew a straight line from wherever the map is centered at the moment. So I'm just going to double click on Rothbury Golf Club, and if I then close this box down, top results box down with a little white cross in the circle in the right hand side of the screen along from top results, it will close that box down now, and the map is now moved to Rothbury. If you see anything on the map when you first load it for the first time, flag symbols, I've got a pink line here which is a route that I've got created. That's because at the moment I've got highlighted the internal storage folder of my GPS under devices in the top left. So anything that's in my GPS device, routes, tracks, etc. If I move the map to an area where I've actually got stuff in my GPS device, you will actually see them on the screen of the map page. If in this top left hand window I use the scroll up bar, and because I haven't created any folders or anything yet, any routes or tracks within the software, if I highlight this library, my collection, there'll be a nice clean map because we're not highlighting a folder that's got any routes, tracks or waypoints in it yet. So we've got a nice clean map page now on the actual screen. So I hope you found that useful, just moving around on the map page using that search box at the top to find a location. It's just a quick way of finding somewhere on the map page. Another way you can actually get to a location quickly, which I know a lot of you will get grid references out of a guidebook or a grid reference off a map, and you want to get the map to actually center on where that grid reference is. What you can actually use for that is this find window. We can use find, and at the very bottom we've got locate coordinates. Now at the moment it's giving me the coordinates for wherever the map is centered at the moment. I'm just going to left click on those and just copy those so I can use them in a second, just to show you the principle of using this find locate coordinates. So I'm just going to close that box down now. So if I move this map back to somewhere else, away from where that grid reference was, we'll just zoom out and move it a little bit quicker. So we're moving down the coast on the map, and I'll just zoom back in so it's an Ordnance Survey map again. So you're on the map page. It normally remembers the last place you were when you first put on the software. You've now got a grid reference that you want to use to center the map somewhere else. We can go back to this find locate coordinates, and then you would type in here your grid reference that you've got out of a guidebook. Now I've just cheated by copying and pasting one just for speed, but I've put in a grid reference that's somewhere else from where we are now. What you can see on this grid reference, we've got NY, which is the map code, and then the space, and then we've got 5 numbers, which is the eastings as we go along an Ordnance Survey map, space, and then the second set of 5 numbers is the northings as we go up a map. Now I know most of you are probably used to seeing a 6-figure reference out of a guidebook, or 6-figure reference you would take off a map. Now if you have 6 numbers, the first 3 numbers being your eastings and the second 3 numbers being your northings, what you'd normally do is you've still got to type in 10 numbers, the same as we do on the actual GPS device. You make sure your last 2 numbers are just zeros, and then you type in your second set of 3 numbers, and then again just make sure the last 3 numbers, the last 2 numbers are 2 zeros. So what we're looking at on the screen now, I've got a grid reference of NY space 95600 space 99300. In a guidebook that would have been written down as simply NY 956993, but we have to type in the 2 zeros at the end of each block. If I now select recenter, it'll move the map and center it on wherever that grid reference is that we've typed in. So it's just another way of moving the map to somewhere else. And the final thing I'm going to look at on this map page is just right in the very bottom. There's a little window that says show overlays. If we click on that show overlays and say hide overlays, what you'll notice is the Ordnance Survey map disappears off the screen and we just see the main roads. Normally we wouldn't use that, not when we're using an Ordnance Survey map. So if you accidentally click on that and you can't see your Ordnance Survey map, and you know in the maps menu at the top you've definitely selected the right map, as in Garmin GB Discoverer 50k all, or whatever map you want to view. I'll select my Topo UK and Ireland map, which is a slightly different type of map. That hide overlays, show overlays, that can hide extra information on the actual map. Now I've went to this more basic map that I've got loaded on my GPS device, the one called the Topo UK and Ireland. I'm just going to show you one more option on the screen. The last thing we'll show you on the map page. Normally when you're viewing the Ordnance Survey map, it's a flat scanned image from an Ordnance Survey map. We don't need to change the detail level. What you see on the map is a direct scan from the Ordnance Survey map. But when you're viewing this type of topo map, that's an electronic digital map, there is a box that you can select that will give you more detail and show you more on the map page than what I'm actually seeing at the moment. Normally as default, this detail level is selected as normal. Now this box is normally hidden. It's not one of the standard toolbars that you can see along the top. So just so I can get this detail level box up on the screen, it's actually a very handy box to use if you've bought any foreign mapping from Garmin or any open source mapping that tends to be this digital type mapping as well. A lot of Garmin's foreign maps are a topo style digital map rather than a flat scan like our Ordnance Survey maps. Changing the detail level will often show extra information. So what we're going to do now is go into this view and view toolbars, because we're going to add an extra shortcut onto the toolbars along the top. So I went view toolbars and I'm going to select this box that says detail level. I've now got a new box appear along the top where the toolbars are that at the moment says medium, which is the standard default level that BaseCamp normally has. On your GPS device you have exactly the same settings under setup and maps and advanced settings, and normally the detail level is set to normal, which is the equivalent of medium. If while I'm on this medium box I hit the drop down and select highest level, you'll see some extra information's now appeared on the map. What I'll actually do is I'll go back to the village of Rothbury. Just by using the search box at the top, I've got Rothbury typed in there. I'll double click on Rothbury just so we're in a more urban environment, just to show you what I mean about this detail level. I'm just going to close this top results box down, and now if I just zoom in a little bit on Rothbury, you can see the detail that's shown there at the moment. If I go back to this detail level box that says highest and change it back to medium, you see it's a more simplified map. What I often find when you're moving around on the map page, having it at the medium level, and then when you get to where you want, changing it back to a higher level makes the map normally move. It's easier moving the map around, it's a little bit quicker moving if you've got it at a lower detail level first. So in the maps menu, I'm just going to go back to my GB Discoverer Ordnance Survey maps and bring them back on the screen. Normally when we're viewing the Ordnance Survey maps, you don't tend to have to touch this detail level bar because it won't change what you see on the map. The one thing it will do, it will change the level of the scale of map that you see rather than the actual detail. It won't show or hide extra information, but it will change when you zoom in how much of an Ordnance Survey map you see, or whether it's actually a road atlas map when you're zoomed in or zoomed out. So it's still a useful box to put on the screen even when you're using the Ordnance Survey maps, the view toolbars and selecting the detail level box. But we tend to use it when we're using more like the topo maps or the topo active maps that you get with a eTrex touch unit or an eTrex 20 or 30 unit. So I hope you found this video useful on looking at the maps within BaseCamp that are read from your GPS device, and thanks for watching this video.